panel, but I'm not here over there. Alessandro De Grandi.
That doesn't look
How was your flight?
not bad. I took the ride from New York.
Okay.
You're from the States?
I'm from Canada, living in Denmark, but it's a longer
okay.
story.
So yeah, we took the ride. I didn't sleep. So
Is it not
a
you?
little like spacey.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sorry you didn't sleep. That makes it hard.
Happy to be here. Some of my team and we got to the Gatwick. It was still like 6 a.m. So we got a hotel.
That is me.
Crash for a couple
So
hours,
is that you?
took a shower.
Take a seat.
That's great. Well, welcome to England. How long are you here for?
Just a couple days, just for fun.
Okay. Well, I hope it exceeds your expectations.
Hello.
I love London. So you're living in
Yes. I run the Atomic Hub. We're an NFT marketplace. Based out of
Yeah.
We're at 2.3 million connected wallets.
Okay. Thank you, everyone. I know you're probably hungry and more likely thirsty, but you won't regret staying for this last panel. We have a wide range of experience here, each in their own areas, and we're going to be discussing the metaverse when games collide. That can be taken in a number of different ways, and we'll explore those, but I think one way we'll be looking at is the role of gaming in the metaverse, and what gaming is to the metaverse, and then how games will interact with one another and the metaverse. So to get started, let's do introductions. Particularly, we are missing one picture off of this. So
I don't know why, but I'm here.
well, we'll do introductions. So it's fine. When you're ready, have you got a microphone? Does it work?
Hello? Is it working?
Unsure.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Ah, wonderful. So, my name is Alexander. I've been in game development for about 20 years, and right now I'm working as a lead designer of a metaverse from GameSpot.
Hi, I'm Kellyanne. I'm the Global Vice President of Ape Squared. So we're currently making a AAA cinematic MMORPG / metaverse. And I'm also the founder of an organisation called Women Leading Web3, which is women being brought into the Web3 space, if that wasn't clear.
I love that. I grew up playing MMORPGs, and there's a deep passion in my heart for them, and would love to see transportability across universes, but we can talk about that later. Hi, I'm Jeffrey. I'm the Chief Revenue Officer of AtomicHub.io, which is the world's busiest NFT marketplace with 2.3 million wallets. And we also run AtomicAds.io, which is a new advertising platform for crypto, NFT, and Web3. If you want to be a publisher or an advertiser on our network, please talk to me afterwards.
Hi, I'm Noah Gaynor. I'm co-founder and CEO of Parcel. We're a virtual real estate and metaverse asset marketplace. So we sell land and soon many other assets in worlds like Decentraland Sandbox, Other Side, and adding multi-chain support very soon as well.
Hi, I'm Alessandro De Grandi, CEO and co-founder of The Nemesis. My picture is in the Metaverse. I don't know why. Is a Metaverse that can work on Web 2 and Web 3 platform. Right now we are in Web 2.5 and it's still live, so here.
I like that, Web 2.5. Yeah, it does feel very much like that. So I think we should start with some definitions. There's no way we can have an answer from everyone for every question because we wouldn't be able to do that, and we haven't done enough time. But I'd like to know what you think gaming is to the metaverse. As I said in the introduction, there is obviously an important role for gaming in the metaverse and its development. So what is that role? What does gaming do for the metaverse? Any of you?
Okay. Okay. I think what metaverse means to gaming, depending on who your audience is and what they would get out of metaverse. When we're looking at our own project, for example, we have kind of two distinct audiences of the more play-to-earn Web3 gamers and then the traditional gamers that would usually be kind of your Web 2 console game players. So they want different things, and there is quite a big divide between the two. If you're going to target traditional gamers and use the word NFT or IDO or something like that, then you're not going to have those gamers playing a game for very long, if at all. So I think for when I look at traditional gamers who will be playing our game, which is blockchain based, it is a Web3 game. For them, the benefit there would be around ownership. So the stuff that they're used to doing from console games around in-game assets and in-game purchases, but with this, they have the ownership side. Whereas I think for the more Web3 play to earn, it's more about the trading, the earning potential, which is very much not what the traditional gamers are there for. So I kind of think they offer different things to different gaming audiences.
Did you have something?
Yeah, if you don't mind. Let's take a look on it from the perspective of a traditional online business, from Web2 business. In Web2, if you are, let's say, an owner of a big web portal, gaming is a way to attract audience, to entertain audience, to retain it, and to monetize it. And it's one of the best ways to do all these activities. So I think in Web3, it will be the same.
Yeah.
So basically, attention management and monetization.
Okay. I want to come back to you, Kelly, actually, because I want to talk about how games are helping to onboard brands. So we've had two different people from the Sandbox on stage today, and the Sandbox has done an amazing job of getting the likes of Gucci, Adidas, and then we've also seen Nike recently taking steps in. So how is gaming reducing the friction of onboarding brands?
I think it's making it a lot more... Like, if we think about one of maybe the main reasons why this Web3 world was created, it was kind of audiences getting sick of brands targeting them with unwanted ads that, provide no value to them. It was just whoever paid the most amount of money to receive your data. And I think it would be really very silly of brands to now move into the Web3 space and do the same thing. So I think advertising and brands in the Web3 space is going to be a really interesting space to watch anyway, just to see if brands just, go in with billboards that aren't targeted in any way. Or I think the best thing that hopefully they will do is more around the co-production side of producing whatever their metaverse integrations will be, working with their audience to figure that out. Gaming is a really easy way to do that because it is, for example, the brands that we're integrating will be writing the brands into the actual gameplay. It's a really good way to do this, actually, if anyone has charity partners. Just recently, we have a corporate partner and we're using their CSR project and a way to kind of tell the stories of the in real life charities and things like that. You can do it through gameplay, limited edition levels, exclusive access. So I think it's a lot more natural way for brands to come in rather than just adverts. And I think I do come from a sort of Web2 corporate brand background before this world. And one of the tasks that most brands have is how you capture that younger audience to sustain your brand's life cycle. Everyone wants to catch an audience that young and follow them through their life cycle, and then hopefully they'll then start again when they have children. But I think at the moment, 80% of Gen Z and millennials play at least 8 hours a week, sorry. It probably is 8 hours a day, to be honest. Gaming. So if you're a brand and you want to capture those audiences that have typically been very hard to capture, then gaming is the way to do it.
Yeah, I support everything you said there. I think that the opportunity through gaming is emotional resonance around a brand. You're not just seeing a billboard even in a digital environment, but you have the opportunity to create narratives, immersion, and the type of emotional resonance with a brand that can last long after just a flat experience.
Yeah, absolutely. One thing I wanted to touch on with that subject, perhaps Jeffrey, you can step in here, is we've seen a lot of resistance from traditional gamers when it comes to NFTs, crypto, blockchain in general. What do you think the metaverse can do to overcome that? Is it simply educating people on what it is, or is it use cases, or what can we do?
Unfortunately for my industry, our industry, is that NFTs have largely been tarnished as a result of a lot of fraudulent activity and, more colloquially called rug pulls. And I think that it's going to be very difficult to rehabilitate the term.
Yeah.
More and more, we need to move towards a technologically agnostic platform where we remove the jargon. It's just gaming, and you have the ability to buy assets and avatars and items for use in your metaverses and games, and then the ability to resell that. I don't think we need to talk about what level 1 you're on or that it's an NFT, but it creates new commercial models more and more.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, part of it is the lingo, and abstracting away the lingo is part of it, but I think also like showing the true utility of these assets, that's when it's going to click for people. So we'll almost have to like back into it, and people will be like, oh, I was already in the metaverse using Web3, using blockchain, I didn't even realize it. So it's sort of like, the Trojan horse approach right now.
Yeah. In our experience, we talk with a lot of brands, and we onboard a lot of brands in our platform. And I think that the point is that we talk about Metaverse and Web3, but the real state of the heart, I'm a crypto lover and NFT lover, but the real state of the heart is that Web3 is not ready for mass market and from brand. We have to wait at the best user experience that we can create. And the brand has covered about that, because when brand put the logo and is in the front, the face, there is the logo of the brand, the experience is for brand. So, and the customer, they have to play with brand in the metaverse. And right now with Web3, the user experience is not ready to do that. So in our experience, what we see directly with brand is something that the brand want to enter inside the metaverse. They want to come in, and they want to use the NFTs. But right now we have to bring people from Web 2, and we have to move step by step inside Web 3. And to do that, we have to create experience inside the metaverse. So the point is that metaverse is not only Web 3. Metaverse is experience, and we have to create this type of experience. For example, in our case, we can offer experience for brand. We released a couple of weeks ago a brand with Skoda, with Volkswagen Group, and we create an experience with the car system. So you can play with car, you can turn around with in a circuit inside Metaverse. And this is in virtual life. But if you go inside a shop, you can use NFTs inside the real shop, and you can use this type of experience also in a virtual world. So this is a connection from virtual and reality, and and a real life. And to do that, the brand can put their face. The point is experience. This is the only way that we have to move people from mass market that are still again in the social network, and to do that you need, for example, the mobile application, because if you don't have the mobile application, you lose the 93% of users because are still on mobile. So there are a lot of things that we have to do to create the connection with Web 2 and Web 3. I think that this is the most important thing that we have to create.
Yeah, that's interesting. I think gaming experiences has been something that's been talked about a lot, and I think perhaps it's a little misunderstood. Hopefully this question doesn't come across too bluntly. I'm going to ask it at you. With these gaming experiences, how do they benefit the players? Because when we're talking about them here, you could come away thinking that they're primarily aimed at publishers, developers, and advertisers. So how do these gaming experiences benefit players?
It depends. From a brand side, you think that for a brand, for example, you can have an experience with mobile application. You can enter inside a real shop, and you can buy a real capsule collection, for example, and you can have the same capsule collection in the metaverse immediately. We have the mobile, we can do that immediately. And this is something that for the brand experience is something real. It's something that is immediately on the store, and you don't have to create a lot of things about that. It's ready. It's ready to use it, and for brand, it's something that they can use immediately. And another thing, in a virtual reality mode, you can, you can work with, you can buy a pair of shoes, and you can have the same coupon to add the pair of shoes in the real life. And in the virtual mode, you can have power up on your avatar, for example, to jump more, to speed faster. So you have to play with brand. This is the concept. The point is that right now we lose a lot of user on the traditional gameplay because we use the traditional advertising. The people want to play with brand, have an experience with brand. And with Metaverse, we can do that. This is the point. The technology, for example, in our case, we are agnostic in terms of blockchain because we are centralized with, on top, we have all type of blockchain ready. We are on Ethereum layer 1, Polygon, BNB, Solana is ready. But it's not a problem for the user. The user have to do the experience. It doesn't matter what is the blockchain. The point is that if you want to come inside the metaverse, you have to enter with an experience that is more clean possible. And after, if you want an experience with Web3, you can add your MetaMask or your wallet inside the experience. So it's an add-on that you have to put inside the metaverse experience. This is the point. I think that this type of approach can change everything. For this reason, we prefer to put our position in Web 2.5 because we see that the brand is not scared if you enter inside the metaverse step by step.
Okay, so one area I want to pick apart there is when we look at the metaverse, we talk about multi-chain a lot, and we also talk about interoperability. And I think to a degree we speak about interoperability to an unrealistic level. Alexander, let's start with you. What opportunities are there for interoperability between games in the metaverse, if any?
Well, for the moment, we need to find two things actually to make it happen at all. First is technical standards, how exactly models, lines of code, and game items are going to be transferred between metaverses, between products, even within one metaverse, between games within one metaverse. That's first, technical standards. And second, actual reasons to do so. So there should be some kind of a business model to support that. Otherwise, I mean, someone went into a partnership with Adidas and creating sneakers from Adidas that are somehow interoperable through metaverses. What's in it for me as an owner of another metaverse? Is there a business model that will allow us to share profits? If so, then it is interesting for me to allow them to be in partnership with me of a kind and share technical resources and share standards as well. So two things, technical is not a rocket science, it's totally doable. Business models should arise from someone who is working with brands already. It's not going to arise from metaverses.
Can I just ask on that front, you say the technology side is doable, which I think most people would agree with. Is it realistic?
As soon as we find some kind of value in it, be it value for the business or value for users, then it's realistic. I can imagine the value for businesses because this will benefit to everyone if, I don't know, a big brand enters the metaverse and stay there across 10 products instead of one. There's different benefit, but we need to understand why 9 out of 10 won't go for this brand and make separate contracts and so on. So there should be like kind of a community effort from business community to reach that point.
Yeah, I think that's actually the biggest challenge is the coordination of the people. It's not the technology, it's getting everyone in the same room to agree, right, and make something that's mutually beneficial. So there are some initiatives, right, trying to do that Open Metaverse Alliance, things like that, but it does feel like it's still quite far away, and existing games and worlds would have to retroactively change like their metadata format, which we know will be like challenging and probably not happen quickly. I would guess.
I feel that interoperability isn't a technical challenge, but one of ego and an understanding of economics. Ego in respect to everybody wanting to do it themselves with their universe, their characters, their items, and even their tokens, which is crazy. I feel that all these extra tokens are just resulting in a collective race to the bottom. But I feel that the biggest challenge is around economics, where people look at a closed or segregated liquidity within their own ecosystem as more powerful than an open, shared, distributed liquidity because they don't have control over it. Then they really have to focus on the quality of the content and the items they're creating. But if we can have a more open view through a collaborative effort like that, you could end up creating a much more powerful and valuable economy for everybody to participate in.
And of course, the economy doesn't just include tokens, it includes items, in-game items in particular. Staying with you on this, Jeffrey, because this is kind of your area, what role does trade play in the metaverse?
Listen, we're at the brink of so many advances in NFT technology. And again, NFTs is a technology, and the use cases can be so broad and varied. But in respect to games, NFTs can be representing token-gated commerce, token-gated entertainment. If you have a token in your wallet, when you authenticate with Web3, then suddenly my MMORPG game is going to have a really cool avatar or item or closed level. You were talking about that for brands as well. I mean, there's so much we can do here. And again, you talk about transportability or interoperability of NFTs across multiple universes. You can have some VIP program which issues as a token, which you can then use for token-gated entertainment across these different worlds. That creates such an incremental premium on it, you'll probably see secondary trading increase substantially.
Yeah, that's what we're doing. So when you're saying, how do we find what the business value is, maybe to like the owner, whether that be the owner of the project or the owner of the NFT, that's exactly what we're doing. Token-gated access to entertainment that will happen in Metaverse. And then on the gaming bit, just simple renting and staking of third-party assets. So you can bring in your Bored Ape, rent it out in our game system, which, some nice bit of tech happens in the middle where it comes out the other end as a game playable asset. So the person who owns the Bored Ape is getting the income there from renting it out. The person who is renting it gets the game asset, and then we get a nice taxation on that transaction happening. So there is kind of ways to do the bringing in interoperable, third-party assets and getting value out of it.
Noah, I want to come to you on that. So Parcel, if I'm not mistaken, does a lot of virtual real estate. Is there an issue with trade and interoperability there?
Well, we actually see ourselves as maybe the first step towards interoperability because, well, you can't take an asset or piece of land from Sandbox and put it into Decentraland, but you can swap it for ETH. Go from Sandbox to ETH to Decentraland all on our platform. So we feel like that is one kind of baby step in that direction, and we maintain good personal relationships with all of the projects. So if we can be that conduit or connective tissue to help speed up the interoperability challenge, we would definitely be happy to do that. But I think, like we've said, every game and project has its own agenda and ideas and strategy. So it hasn't quite been that simple so far.
I think that one thing I'd like to get all of your thoughts on, and I always find this interesting to see, particularly this panel has a broad range of experience. You're each working in pretty different areas, even if they are connected. I'd like to see what sort of misconceptions you've run into from people outside of Web3 when you're working with them. So I'll start with you, Alexander.
Well, I'm outside of Web3. I was there until October this year, so I was full of misconceptions in terms of the level of fairness among people who are working in the industry. I mean, the industry is very young, and we have to allow ourselves to make mistakes, and mistakes are grave sometimes. So that was my first misconception, probably, because I was not expecting to meet so many people, professional people with good technical backgrounds. I was under influence that probably most of them are from marketing and they're just selling snake oil. It is not true. Some of them are still selling snake oil, but not all of them.
I mean, I think the biggest misconception is that an NFT doesn't mean a Bored Ape. art image, but I won't go down the route. I think in terms of gaming, probably that there is this misconception that any Web3 game is therefore shit, which I think a lot of that has come from what happened at kind of the early stages of Web3 gaming coming around when, in the traditional Web2 world, like AAA, AA, these kind of ratings are like an official grading of your game. And some of the early Web3 games that came around sort of branded themselves as AAA. Traditional gamers came to see what this new AAA game is that they had heard about, and then not only was it not AAA, but they were all pretty low rent, either in terms of, well, the gameplay of a lot of play-to-earn games isn't really gameplay, it's grinding, and even just the visual aspect. So I think that's where this kind of big divide and stigma happened to begin with. So I'm hoping now that there are more, there haven't been that many really high-end, whether it's AAA or just high-end, both in terms of the visuals, the graphics once you're in Metaverse or in-game, and also the game design itself. They take so long to make, and they're so expensive that there hasn't been that many, but I'm hoping now that these kind of projects are starting to roll off the shelves a little bit, that the market will become more populated with those kind of projects, which will then hopefully then aid the mass adoption of gamers, removing this stigma, because they are seeing that quality does happen in Web3 and gaming.
Yeah,
the biggest misperception I see and hear from friends and family is that they think I live on another planet. Because when you start explaining it, you realize very quickly that we all suffer from widespread mainstream public misperception that there is a perfect then between Web3, NFT, and crypto, and that Sam Bankman-Fried perpetuating fraud on millions of people means that I'm somehow participating with my NFT marketplace over here. And then you start to educate people about that, and you start talking about the possibilities with DLT and self-sovereign identity, and people don't want to hear it, because the technology and the jargon really, as you had said earlier, needs to be abstracted away from the use case, because people just want to be entertained, they want to be informed, they want to have an aspect of trust, and they don't feel today that any of what we do is worthy of that.
Yeah, absolutely. Noah?
Yeah. So it's like painted, everything's painted with, the same brush. I'd say, like, specific to what I'm working on, people often ask, if you can make unlimited land in the metaverse, why is any of it valuable? Like, it's funny because we've been through this before with the internet. If you can make unlimited websites, why would any of them be valuable? Well, the ones that have all the traffic are valuable, and that's the same in the metaverse. And there is, instead of maybe ad impressions on a screen, it is actually more like foot traffic and in a 3D space, but it's the same idea because you have the attention of the people.
Oh, on my side, I think that right now we talk about around the word that is metaverse, that is a buzzword, and around this buzzword we have a lot of confusion from every side. We can count on one hand the real metaverse on the market, and the perception from the front end, from the end user, is that a lot of company raise a lot of billion without anything. So this is the point, and the real state of the art is that we have in the major part of, I receive every day a newsletter with new metaverse, and we are e-commerce and metaverse. It doesn't matter why you are a metaverse, because you have something in 3D that around in your website. So we have to consider that the metaverse word is something that Meta from Facebook create for a big hype, but the time is not ready to do that. Not for whole market. There are 5-6 maximum metaverse ready to do that right now, and we have to clean whole market from the other things. For user is something that is there is a lot of confusion, and this is the first point. The second point is that the Web3 is the user experience is too difficult. So the point is this one. You have to try to use MetaMask from mobile, for example, and we are partner of Consensus. We know how does it work. It's impossible to use for mass market. If you try to explain to the end user that are still confusion to use a simple feed that you have to move just only one hand, and try to enter in the metaverse that you have to connect MetaMask mobile. You have to enter inside the metaverse where you have to interact with an avatar. It's too difficult. So the point is that we have to create baby step for each step of this large experiment that is metaverse exploration.
Yeah, I'd like to get all of your thoughts on this as well, really. Do you think that onboarding represents one of the biggest barriers of entry to the metaverse? Is it the onboarding that is holding us back, or is it something else?
I think there aren't really fun, compelling games and experiences yet, and that's what's holding people back. And I think the smart games will, sort of like what you mentioned, you will start playing, it's the Web 2.5, you start playing the game, you rack up points or tokens, and then to retrieve them, now you have to set up a wallet. But you have an incentive to do it.
But I want to, for example, with Sony Music in Italy, we create 5 events. And when we talk with Sony, Sony asked to us, please, we want to use the metaverse without any type of connection with NFTs, because we don't know how does it work, NFTs, legal part. We don't want to enter with NFT. We want to enter in the metaverse. Okay. We use the experience is clean because the people know how does it work. And the casual gamer is not for hardcore gamer or expert gamer. Pro gamer, that if a pro gamer wants to play into a battle royale, people don't want to enter in metaverse. Metaverse is for a casual gamer right now. So for Sony, for example, we create 4 experience with live concert, and people can buy the tickets over Eventbrite. That is very simple and clean. They know how does it work. They can use in our application, for example, the in-app purchase. That they know how does it work. And to enter inside the metaverse, they have to connect only the Facebook or Apple or Google login. They know how does it work because it's a casual game. After 4 events, the first 4 events, Sony asked to us, okay, now we are ready to create something with NFTs. This is the right step-by-step that we have to create also with brand. Because in this case, the brand can try how does it work the metaverse, and also the community of the brand can try how does it work the metaverse ecosystem. Right now, we are ready with NFTs, and we can do that because in our case, it's not mandatory have a wallet synced in your account, so you can put over there. And this is, I think, in my opinion, that is the right way to onboard a brand and to onboard a lot of users in Web3. Because step by step, you can bring people from Web2 and merge it into Web3. The only way.
I did hear, I was speaking to a developer friend, I won't say which projects, I'm not sure it's public, but he's, this whole Web2, Web3 gamer divide. So he's producing his game with both. So you can, if you're accessing the game via Steam or a platform like that, you will have exactly the same characters, but they're just not NFT'd. So that information is just held in a database. And then for anyone that is on the Web3 side, you will have the same set of characters, but they're NFTs. And you can still play with each other. It's still like fully interoperable in that sense. It's like cross-play almost. And hopefully at some point, the non-NFT players will realize that there is value in them having them as NFTs, whether it's the trading perspective or whatever it may be. But he's actually building it so that he can bring in those two audiences and show them that actually the game is the thing that people want to be there for, and it doesn't matter whether you NFT or it doesn't matter whether you don't. You can still play and still enjoy the game, and hopefully that will help him with his mass adoption sort of onboarding more than trying to educate from the beginning to get someone to enter.
Yeah, we recently saw that with a game called Superior by Gala Games. So they launched, it was always mentioned as a Web3, Gala Games is obviously a Web3 company, and then they launched it on Steam, and everyone was asked how, because obviously they have a very blanket ban on anything crypto, and they did exactly what you're saying. It's interoperable between the Web3 version and the Web2 version, and there's a company that I featured recently called Gamer Gains, and they essentially allow you to earn, this isn't an ad, I have no vested interest, they essentially allow you to earn tokens by playing Web 2 games like Call of Duty or whatever, by linking it to your Steam account. And they're playing on the same model really as Superior is, and as that game you're talking about is, essentially they'll get these Web 2 players that just think, well, I might as well be earning, already enjoying the game, I might as well own what I get. Okay, so that is all the questions we have. Now, we can have audience questions, but that hasn't gone particularly well so far. So does anybody have any questions? Ah, yes, we do. Hang on, I'm going to bring a mic to you. You could have just shouted.
Lovely to hear from you, panelists. Quick question that I would like to, get your opinion on. How are we connecting parents and children within the gaming and technology space? Because we know that children are learning a lot faster than adults, and adults are turning up their nose to change. So how would we go about tackling that situation?
The most successful parental controls that have been implemented in mainstream technology today are through Google and Apple in respect to the controls they have inside their platforms for setting, parent-child controls, allowing access, setting age gating, etc. Netflix absolutely fails at it. I know this on a daily experience. And most other platforms utterly ignore it. So, as an industry, we're not doing anything because we don't really talk to each other than some initiatives on collaboration. It's really incumbent on the individual operator or publisher or platform you're utilizing. And as a parent, you should just be reviewing the search history and access history of your children on a regular basis and talking to them about it.
I think the brand side as well. I think in a lot of countries it's kind of banned advertising to children, but I think in other countries it's sort of like open and it's up to the brand's discretion as to what level or to what extent. So I think as well, maybe as a parent understanding brands and where they fall on it, that might be, I'm not a parent and my Metaverse is not for children, so it's not something I've come across, but I do work with brands who I know think very carefully. I was just working with Cadbury's on something, and everything that they were thinking about, because they're thinking about Web3 gaming, Cadbury's, and they were just like, but the kids, so they're obviously super conscious of that, so that's kind of where my head went with that.
Well, I don't think we are going to see a lot of kids playing Web3 games because of the onboarding and barriers of entry for now. But in metaverses, especially when it comes to new stuff like VR chat, for example, we'll definitely see a lot of kids. And the best way for parents to have some kind of a control of the consumption or understanding of what they're actually consuming in this virtual world would be to participate. And family gaming could be a big part of it, like playing with kids within those worlds, explaining them what's right or wrong there, and understanding by yourself what's right and wrong, or what's going on actually.
Okay, are we out of time?
We are, but if you want one more question, folks, does anyone want one more question?
I have one. What is the game you're most excited about coming out in 2023?
Mine.
Which is called?
It's called Above Land. So, yeah, we won't be launching until towards the end of next year because of what we were kind of just talking about. We're doing a gamer-first approach. Actually, in the current market, we wouldn't have an option to do an NFT launch first anyway, but it's a gamer-first approach, so it takes... Our whole production will probably be about 5 years, so we're only just about to start rolling off. But yes, Above Land.
We're going to have to wait for that one then, folks.
We'll have a demo in April.
I'm excited for Shrapnel, which is launching on Avalanche. I think it's a ex-Halo or Xbox team that's spun out. Looks really great.
I'm really excited about Ember Sword by Bright Star Studios, which is coming out on Immutable next year, and you can buy your tokens on atomichub.io.
Actually, I did see a really good game from Emergent Games. I think it's called Resurgence, but that's probably the closest thing that I've seen to what I would look at as a super AAA cinematic. That's not a metaverse, it is an RPG. I believe they did do their first token drop already. I think it might be fully coming out early next year, but that one looked really interesting. If you look at the game team behind it, then yeah, you'll pretty much know every single person on there, so that looks really interesting.
Okay. I think that is everything then.
How about you, Robert? What's your game? The top hit?
Well, Shrapnel, certainly one of them. Resurgence also is looking good. Guild of Guardians, Ember Sword, they're both looking good. Forge Arena, not that well known, but kind of a Counter-Strike alternative. I think next year, as you said actually, Kelly, that there just hasn't been enough time for AAA games to have, started planning, then started development, then started testing, then release. I mean, it was only around 2020 that people started picking up blockchain games anyway. So it's been 2 years. There's just not enough time for AAA games.
And money as well.
Exactly.
Like we've just closed our final investment at just under 195 million. So not that many projects have that floating around to make something to that level. So
yeah, it's quite the number.
you need a bit of cash.
And sorry, Robert, I have a question for you. Where would the audience go to get news about what's happening in blockchain gaming?
Yeah, that's the pint you're getting later. Tokengamer.io for the latest blockchain gaming news, and the Mint One podcast if you're into NFTs and blockchain gaming. Check that out too. Okay, can we get a round of applause for our amazing panel?
Thank you.